The final season of Stranger Things arrives not as another chapter, but as an epilogue to an entire cultural era. One last adventure. The making of Stranger Things 5 Feet reveals how the creators confronted the impossible task of satisfying expectations while maintaining artistic integrity. This documentary opens with the Duffer Brothers in their writing room, surrounded by whiteboards mapping narrative threads that stretch back to 2016. The atmosphere is thick with both anticipation and melancholy. They're not just concluding a story, but dismantling a universe they've inhabited for nearly a decade. Production designer Chris Trujillo explains the challenge of returning to Hawkins after the town's destruction in Season 4. "We couldn't just rebuild," he notes. "We had to show a community scarred by trauma where the familiar has become haunted. This visual transformation becomes central to the season's emotional landscape." The documentary reveals how cinematographer Tim Ives approached the final season with deliberate visual regression. Early seasons employed Spielbergian wonder shots. Bikes against moonlit skies, glowing portals and basements. For Season 5, the camera becomes more intimate, often handheld as if documenting rather than mythologizing. A particularly revealing sequence shows the VFX team grappling with the Upside Down's final appearance. Concept artists explain how they distilled 8 years of visual language into a single cohesive conclusion. The documentary captures the moment when they decide to make the parallel dimension less alien, more recognizable, a mirror reflecting our world's accumulated pain. The documentary's most poignant moments come from the cast's final table read. Millie Bobby Brown describes Eleven's journey as learning to be ordinary after being extraordinary. The actors discuss their characters with the familiarity of old friends, aware they're preparing for final goodbyes. Thematic analysis reveals Season 5 as a meditation on closure itself. Where previous seasons explored trauma through supernatural metaphor, the final season examines what happens after survival. How does one rebuild when the monster is gone, but the damage remains? The documentary highlights how the writers approached character arcs not as resolutions, but as acknowledgments. Mike Wheeler's journey from Dungeon Master to Leader concludes not with triumph, but with the quiet realization that some adventures end without clear winners. His final scene was rewritten 7 times to avoid sentimentality. Sound designer Craig Hennihan shares how the season's audio landscape evolved. The familiar synth score by Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein becomes sparser, allowing silence to carry emotional weight. The documentary shows them recording the final musical cue, a simple piano motif that first appeared in Season 1, now aged and weathered. The documentary captures the physical toll of the final shoot. Stunt coordinator Hiro Koda explains how action sequences were designed to feel earned rather than spectacular. "These characters are tired," he says. "Their movements should show 8 years of fighting." The camera lingers on Winona Ryder watching a monitor, her expression containing the entire series' emotional history. A crucial revelation concerns the season's treatment of nostalgia. Where earlier seasons celebrated 80s references, Season 5 interrogates them. The documentary shows the writers debating whether to include a final Spielberg homage, ultimately deciding against it. The reference would have been comforting, but comfort wasn't the point. The documentary's most technical segment explores the practical effects renaissance. The creature department built the season's central monster entirely physically, a decision that added 3 months to production but created what the Duffers call tangible farewell. The documentary shows the actors reacting to the practical creature with genuine awe, their performances subtly different from green screen work. The editing process reveals narrative courage. The documentary includes footage from a 45-minute cut of the finale that was ultimately reduced to 28 minutes. What was removed? Explanations. The final version trusts the audience to sit with ambiguity, to accept that some portals close without revealing what's on the other side. The documentary concludes with the wrap party, but interestingly focuses not on celebration but on quiet moments. Crew members packing equipment they won't use again, the Hawkins set being slowly dismantled. The final shot of the documentary isn't of the cast or creators, but of an empty soundstage, the space where the magic happened, now just a space again. What emerges from One Last Adventure is the portrait of artists who understood their responsibility. They weren't just making television, they were concluding a shared cultural experience. The documentary shows them wrestling with this weight in every decision, from script revisions to color grading. The final season of Stranger Things succeeds not because it answers every question, but because it respects the questions themselves. The making of documentary reveals how this respect guided every creative choice, resulting in a conclusion that feels less like an ending and more like a thoughtful pause. The portal closed, but the memory of what passed through it remaining. Thank you for watching until the end. We pour our passion into every single video essay, exploring the stories behind the movies we all love. If you stumbled upon this video by chance, there is a very high probability you might never see our channel again in your feed. So please, take a moment to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and ring the bell. We are actively growing this community of cinema lovers, and your support is what helps us make our content better and more insightful every single day. Let's explore the magic of filmmaking together. See you in the next one.